Hello and welcome back to Exothermic Plays Games. I'm Exothermic and the date today is Tuesday, October 8th, 2024. I've been doing a countdown of my favorite video games of all time through each day of the year, and coming in at number 85 is Tetris Attack. If you watched my videos for the last 2 days, you know there's a story I've got to sort of continue, but I want to touch on a few things about this game that are especially weird. First, I put the release year for this as 1996 in the title, and that's simultaneously true and false. In 1995 in Japan, Nintendo released a game called Panel de Pon. It's this game, but without the Mario theming, and is instead about a bunch of fairies as the characters. Other than art and some sounds, it's exactly the same game. However, they didn't think it would do well in North America with that theme, so they slapped Mario characters on it, renamed it Tetris Attack, because this is Murica, and apparently Panel de Pon was too hard to pronounce, and honestly, I'm assuming I'm saying it wrong anyways, and we're too stupid here to acknowledge new ideas, so they called it Tetris, even though it's not, and oh wow, people love that plumber dude and his dinosaur, and yeah, let's call it Attack, because again, Murica and aggressive, and it's like with Kirby games where he's all cute and happy and having a great time on Japanese covers, but the North American releases, he's got his angry eyes on and is gonna kick your ass. So yeah, I played the one with the Mario characters, not the fairies. Now, you might be watching the gameplay in the background here and thinking to yourself, but wait a minute, this just looks like Pokemon Puzzle League, which you already ranked this year, not even in your top 100, but it's also got less and is just overall worse than Pokemon Puzzle League. And you're absolutely right, Pokemon Puzzle League is this game. You move different color blocks around horizontally to create groups of 3 or more to clear them and launch more blocks over at your opponent. Combos can pause time as well. There's a couple game modes for single player, but not as much as Pokemon Puzzle League, which is really just is better in absolutely every single way, except for one. And it's a really important thing. On to the conclusion of story time from Sunday. If you've been following my channel for a while, or you've even just scrolled through the list of videos, you know that I love puzzle games. Hell, I even ranked not 1, but 2 Brain Age games, because I like to do math fast, or really just anything that requires me to think really quickly, and I ranked a website that's not even a game, really, and is just a typing test where you race people to finish first. I like having an obstacle and trying to overcome it as quickly as possible, having to think and adapt as I do it. This is reflected in a lot of games on my list, and not just the strictly puzzle games. Real-time strategy games are really just puzzle games, but way more gamey, and that's probably actually my favorite genre. So what instilled this into my brain that these tense, stressful challenges and situations produce the happy chemicals? Well, that's easy. On Sunday, I talked about spending a lot of time at my grandparents' house as a kid playing the exactly 2 Super Nintendo games they had. One was Super Mario World, and I talked about that game then, but Tetris Attack was the other game. Both of my paternal grandparents were big puzzle people. My grandfather, before he semi-retired to help my grandmother with her expanding miniature dollhouse and antique store, worked at General Motors as, and I may have the title of this job wrong, but I think a part inspector, and he'd have to dig through blueprints and check specifications and kind of reverse engineer specific aspects of them to make sure every little thing he was checking was exactly the way it was supposed to be, and that, the whole line wasn't screwed. It was a really thinky job that he must have enjoyed because he did it for a long time. But even beyond that, at home, he always had a jigsaw puzzle spread out on his extra table in the living room, Anytime I visited, we'd sit down and I'd try to help him find the missing pieces, get it all together. Often on more challenging puzzles for my young brain, he'd piece together the more tricky things, like chunks of a large expanse of a solid color, and then I'd get to find where it went. That was all great, and I cherished those memories, and it's really who he was. This analytical but calm person who enjoyed simple little joys and including others in them. And cappuccino. Oh, wow, he drank a lot of cappuccino. Then there was my grandmother. That woman didn't know the meaning of the word relax and was one of the most type A personality people I've ever met. She was a real workaholic, very driven in everything she did, incredibly smart too. She had a really sharp wit and wasn't afraid to mince words, but it was important to keep in mind she didn't hold back because she cared. For the record, she never spoke angrily with me. I was a small child, but like with adults and stuff. The important thing here, however, is that she didn't half-ass anything, and that includes absolutely kicking my ass at Tetris Attack. For years, we'd play this game against each other. I mean, like, we're talking like I am 6 years old, and we are playing this game, and she is destroying me. I don't think I ever beat her even once. Really, it helped to teach me the importance of losing and of striving to get better at something. The pace of the puzzles, combined with more constantly being thrown at me from both the blocks ascending from the bottom, but also attacks she threw at me faster than I could clear them, I think is the real origin point for my love of puzzle games, and really anything involving fast, critical thinking. Every once in a while, I wonder, as I am obviously no longer a small child, if she were still alive, would I beat her at this game? And the answer is, I really don't think I would. I mean, she just obliterated me, setting up like 5-part combo chains immediately, swapping blocks as the stuff above them fell. I mean, just an insane pace of play. I don't think I'll ever do anything that fast in my life. Tetris Attack is a great and timeless game, but I don't know if it's actually like top 100 great in a vacuum. I'll be the first to admit it's getting a real boost from memories with my grandmother, and at the end of the day, that's probably more important than anything the game was actually doing. And as the top 100 continues, we're going to run into that more and more. All of these games are great games, so it's hard to really call them much better than each other, but for my own rankings, sometimes it's the context surrounding the game that gives it the edge. Join me tomorrow as I talk about my 84th favorite game, where I Ferris Bueller's Day Off with an ogre.